Koli Shatima. You're welcome, sir. May I also acknowledge the presence of the hosts, or rather the co-host of today's event, the Dean Faculty of Arts, Professor Sule Mohammed. You're welcome, sir. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may I also acknowledge the presence of the co-hosts of today's event, the head of Department of Political Science and International Studies, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, Dr. M.L. Tafida. You're welcome, sir. Our guest speaker for today, also all the way from the Department of Political Science and International Studies, Professor David Movi. You're welcome, sir. And Ambassador Ontari Abdikaita, you're welcome, sir. I also acknowledge the presence of the National President, Ambassador Enoch Pierre Ducci. You're welcome, sir. The National Secretary General, Alhaji Kabiru Hussaini. You're welcome, sir. And of course, the National Assistant Secretary General, Professor Thelma Ozi Mohammed. You're welcome. The National Public Relations Officer, Alhaji Abdullahi Shuaibu. You're welcome, sir. The National Treasurer, Colonel Mohammed Dule, retired. You're welcome, sir. And then, of course, the ex-officio, Professor Kayode Umojua. You're welcome, sir. Also, on the Board of Trustees, we have the Chairman, Mr. John Adebite. You're welcome, sir. Welcome. And then the family of late Professor Edi Yahaya, you're also welcome. May I also acknowledge the family or the presence of Professor Mike Kwanashi. You're welcome. And then the family of late Dr. Mahmoud Tukur. You're welcome. And Professor Oka Ezemwe. You're welcome, sir. And then, of course, Professor E.M. Odibu. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, given the fact that we're all Nigerians, and Nigerians are known to be very religious, it is very important that whatever we do, we seek divine intervention. But based on our tradition here in Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, we give ourselves 30 seconds to pray according to individual faith. Here we take 30 seconds to pray, please. Amen. Amen. Next is the national anthem. We all rise for the national anthem, please. Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Those rising tongues may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigeria, I'm proud to set our sovereign motherland. Our flag shall be a symbol that truth and justice reign. In peace, oh, bow to honor, and this we can't escape. To hang on to our children, our banner without stain. Oh God, oh creation, grant us our one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed, and so with peace and plenty, Nigeria, the ABU anthem.
We proclaim from hills and valleys we come to draw from the stream of knowledge. Our duty is to succeed in learning and service. Excellence is our goal. Ahmadu, Bello, University. In our dreams we shall achieve. We give thanks to Almighty Allah. In Him we derive our strength. We dutifully shall obey. Not to some is to bless your name shall always be. Ahmadu, Bello, University, a citadel of great learning.
Thank you very much. We may all sit. Ladies and gentlemen, please, for those sitting at the back, you can please come forward and fill up the empty spaces in front. Those sitting at the back, please come forward and fill the empty spaces in front. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before moving to the next item on the agenda, may I also acknowledge the presence of the Dean, Faculty of Life Sciences, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, Professor Ahmadu. You're welcome, ma'am. And now, moving to the next item on the agenda,
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Auzubillahi minashaitanir rajim. The chairman of the occasion, Professor Atahir, UON, special advisor to the president, livestock master and former vice chancellor, Zaria University. A special guest of honor, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, former chief of staff to the president, and the initiator of IS program, also former is the current chairman of the Savannah Center for Conflict Solution. Your Royal Highness, heavily represented by Maiden. Thank you. Welcome, sir. The Vice Chancellor, Ahmadu Bello University, heavily represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor Enhancement. One of our guests and a partner to us, who is here present. He left Abuja this morning. He's here, Dr. Kole Shetima from MacArthur Foundation. We also want to acknowledge the guest speaker, Professor David Mobe, who within a short notice actually saved this program, who had assigned a sitting VC to deliver this lecture. In fact, if you recall, some of the first few items we sent was his name that was on that as guest speaker, but somehow man just refused to answer our calls, refused to reply our emails, and luckily Professor Mobe came in to deliver this lecture today. We are grateful. I also want to thank our honorees. They came all of them that we earmarked. You are welcome. Invited guests, members of the press. It is with immense joy and profound pride that I stand before you today as the National President of the International Studies Alumni Association, Ahmadu Bello University. Extend a heartfelt welcome to you all to this momentous occasion. For decades, our venerable former Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences past, and indeed the Department of Political Science and International Studies, a beacon of academic excellence, shaping minds and molding leaders who have gone on to make significant contributions across various sectors, both nationally and globally. From diplomacy and international relations to academia, journalism, business, and public service, the imprints of our alumni are indelible and far-reaching. Today, we celebrate not just the achievements and excellence of our formations, but also the enduring legacy of an institution that has consistently upheld the highest standards of intellectual rigor and critical thinking. Our warmest salutations to our mentors and lecturers. All of you, our honorees, have successfully navigated the demanding academic terrain of Ahmadu Bello University, and today marks the celebration of your dedication, perseverance, and intellectual disposition. The association is proud of your accomplishment and also excited to witness the positive impact you all have achieved in the academic cycles. Today is your day, and we are celebrating you. The association hopes that this kind of event or similar will be replicated nationwide in our institutions of higher learning. This association serves as a vital bridge connecting generations of international studies graduates. It is a platform for mentorship, collaboration, professional development, and social engagement. Through our collective efforts, we continue to strengthen the Department of Political Science, International Studies, support current students, and foster a spirit of camaraderie that transcends geographical boundaries. The association had so far, within its 4 years of existence, recorded a lot of landmarks, including the donation of books and other literary works. The ongoing renovation of the department's library, which inshallah very soon will be here to commission it. Award of scholarships to indigent students and the hosting of a website to enhance our reach out programs. Therefore, wish to encourage each and every one of the international studies graduates, those who are studying, to actively participate in the association's activities. Your engagement is crucial to our continued growth and success. As we look to the future, the Alumni Association remains committed to fostering a strong and supportive community. We will continue to organize initiatives that benefit our members and contribute to the advancement of international studies as a discipline. Once again, welcome to this great gathering. Let us celebrate our shared heritage, embrace our collective future, and continue to uphold the distinguished reputation of the former past, the Department of Political Science and International Studies, and our great alma mater, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. Thank you all, and God.
Thank you very much, the National President. Sir, please can we once again put our hands together for the National President? Ladies and gentlemen, before moving to the next item on the agenda, May I also acknowledge the presence of Ambassador Sani Bala Sarkwa. You're welcome, sir. Ambassador Ahmad Bala Busau, you're also welcome, sir. May I also acknowledge the presence of Ambassador E.Y. Shihu, former Nigerian ambassador to Russia. You're welcome, sir. And the next, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, is the opening remarks by the chairman of today's occasion. The chairman of today's occasion is no other person but former Vice Chancellor of the Bayero University, Kano, a former chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and presently the Special Advisor to the President on Livestock. Please join me in welcoming Professor Atahiru Jiga, CON.
Thank you very much. In university ceremonies, I also like to be introduced as the former president of ASU. Thank you very much. The guest of honor, Professor Ibrahim Akbola Gambari, our teacher, our mentor, our leader, many fundamental respects, and as has been rightly pointed out, the initiator of the International Studies Program at Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. Representative of the Vice Chancellor and the Deputy Vice Chancellor, representative of the Royal Father, His Highness the Emir of Zazzau, represented by Bardik Eraria, the President of the International Studies Alumni Association, the guest speaker, Director, Africa Director of the MacArthur Foundation, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I wish to begin by expressing my thanks and appreciation to the association for inviting me to be the chairman of today's occasion. I truly appreciate the honor. I would like to commend you for organizing this symposium, an annual symposium, and today in particular, we've chosen to honor distinguished academics, people who have contributed positively to the development of the not only department in the faculty, but also the deans, those who had served as deans. And I have no doubt that it's a very good and commendable thing to do in promoting excellence, in ensuring sustainability of good work, the development of our disciplines and our universities. I believe that this is something not only commendable, but something that should inspire other alumni associations. Also identify those who have devoted their time and made sacrifices to teach our students, to help build our departments and faculties, and indeed to help grow our universities. I am an alumnus of Ahmadu Bello University, although from the periphery, because I studied at the ABU campus. But my certificate, like yours, is ABU certificate. And even as students in the periphery, we cherished the academic vibrancy and the intellectual capacity demonstrated at that time on the main campus in FAS. And obviously, people like Professor Gambari, that's why I said our mentors, they were our teachers. even though we didn't sit in their classrooms, we attended their lectures, we read their books and the papers they presented, and we have been tremendously enriched by that. So, to my mind, this is also a celebration of the contributions of Professor Gambari, not only to the development of international studies in ABU, but certainly to the development of education in Nigeria and in fact the discipline of international relations, not only in Nigeria, but all over Africa. We were told earlier today when we paid a courtesy call on the Vice Chancellor, I think about 25 graduates of international studies from ABU, the first set ended up being ambassadors working in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and rising to the pinnacle of their careers. This is no mean achievement, frankly, and we must forever appreciate the contributions of Professor Gambari in that regard. I must also apologize to all of you. Many of you understand I've been here since 9 o'clock. I myself arrived around 9:25, but regrettably, we had to honor what we understand is a protocol. We had to go pay a courtesy call on the Vice Chancellor. I must apologize. It's not in my character or in any of our characters here to keep people waiting for that long. But the fact that people sat patiently and waited, and we still have a large crowd for this event, is truly a great testimony to the commendable effort of the Alumni Association and also the significance of today's event. There are people we haven't seen for a very long time, people who have been deans, some of blessed memory, but we are all here today as part of the activities to honor them and to honor their contributions to our academic growth and development. For those who have departed, I wish us a very fruitful event this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Please can we once again put our hands together for the chairman of today's occasion. Now the chairman, sir, with your permission, we move to the next item on the agenda. And the next item on the agenda is goodwill messages. With your permission, sir, we start with the royal father of the day, the Emir of Zazzau, Ahmadu, who is here ably represented by the Bardenki Iranian Zazzau, the district head of Basawa, architects Haruna Abubakar Bamali. Please, let's put our hands together for the royal father. And here comes the goodwill message.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم على نبي الكريم. The chairman of the occasion, former president of the ABU, alumni, and the vice chancellor, our host, members of the high table, all other protocol duly observed. I'm here to represent His Highness, who has wished to be here with you as an alumni of the association. Yesterday night, there was a call by His Eminence, the Sultan of Sokoto, who asked the Emir to represent him in an occasion which is of equal importance like this. He has asked me to send his apology and has asked me to represent him here. He has specifically mentioned Professor Gambari. He has asked me to say he will see him in his own way. I don't know. Apart from this, he has also asked me to wish the association gathering a fruitful deliberation, and then to wish this gathering will be springboard for individual and collective development. He has asked me also to wish you fruitful conversations during the symposium. God guidance. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, the Royal Father, sir. The Chairman, sir, still on the message of the Emir. May I invite once again the National President of the International Studies Alumni Association, Ambassador Montari Abdukaita, to pass another message of the Emir of Zazzau, Ambassador Ahmadu.
Thank you. Thank you, MC. I was mandated by His Royal Highness after informing me that a delegation will be here to represent him, the district head of Samaru. Early this morning sent a letter of regrets and called me and said I should read it out after apologizing to the special guest of honor of his inability to hear. So he wrote, regrets. Yeah, members of the International Studies community, I'm writing to express my sincere regrets for my inability to attend the reunion and the special ceremony honoring the esteemed former deans of the Faculty of International Studies at Ahmadu Bello University. Last night, I received directives from His Eminence, the Sultan of Sokoto, to represent him at the 40th anniversary celebration of 4-1 in Kaduna. Meanwhile, the Sultan and other emirs will be attending the funeral of the Emir of Zuru. I would like to extend a warm welcome to my esteemed colleague and one of the finest, Ambassador Professor Ibrahim Gambari. It is an honor to have him among you, gracing this important occasion. Congratulations to all the distinguished recipients of the awards and honors at this event. Your contributions to the field and to our community are truly commendable. Please know that the Faculty of International Studies holds a significant place in my heart, and I am proud of its continued impact and achievements. Wishing you all a successful and joyous gathering. Once again, Ambassador Ahmadu Amali, CFR, Striking Zazzau. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the National President, for reading that on behalf of the Royal Father of the Day. And the Chairman, sir, with your permission, may I also invite another goodwill message. And to do that, may I call on our partner, the Director of MacArthur Foundation Africa, Dr. Kole Shetima. Please can we put our hands together for Dr. Kole Shetima, and he comes for the goodwill message.
The chair of the occasion, Professor Omar Asu, National President, our special guest of honor, Professor Gambari, who, as chair of the occasion said, this is also a celebration of him someone who established this great program that has become renowned for producing 25 ambassadors on set. A remarkable achievement. So let's once again recognize Professor Gambari. But for all the things that he did after that, at NIA, foreign minister, and I understand that the people at UN were a little bit tired of seeing his face for too long as our representative at the United Nations, or I don't know how many years, 18 years or so, is a feat that I don't think that anyone has matched. The Royal Highness, our Vice Chancellor, guest speaker, other distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and of course our partner, or my partner, the President of the Alumni Association. So I became a partner with this conversation because, and interesting, it was in December last year, Professor Okello Ochuli, someone that all of us who have been through the corridors of ABU Zaria remember him fondly as a Pan-Africanist, poet, a fervent gentleman, a distinguished scholar, a literary person, someone who have touched the lives of many, many, many of us. Yesterday, as Professor Gambari will explain, he had to chair the occasion tribute, and that's why we had to drive from Abuja this morning. But it was Professor Okello who called me in December after organizing an event for Professor Ibrahim Ibrahim. He said, well, Kole, we have been, Jibo's celebration was great, but there are so many, many other people that we should also be thinking about. And he thought that we should do something for people like Professor Modibo and representatives and representatives of the various families who are here. That we should organize them, we should encourage them, and we should do something. I was very happy to say, okay, because with people like us, we never say yes. We will also say, okay, and let's have some conversation. But at that time, I must confess, I was also concerned about late Professor Abdullahi Mahdi, the former vice chancellors of this university, because I felt that ABU did not recognize him. I felt that nobody have appreciated his work. So I was harassing people like Sadiq, Mustafa Gwadabe, and others, and I said, look, can we even publish his thesis? Because this is someone who has produced one of the most important documents, and we just don't even recognize what they have done. So I had that in my mind when they also, Professor Okello called me. And then, of course, we agreed, and I think that association, we were supposed to meet on January 11th, I remember, and then things happened, and then I think, I don't know whether it was February or so, we met with a number of people who are here, of course, including our former ambassador to Russia. So in some ways, it is very interesting, an interesting coincidence that Professor Okello, who will be buried tomorrow, was really the reason why, at least from our own perspective, we are participating in this event. So I want us to also take 30 seconds to remember Professor Okello for all that he has done to us and to humanity as well. Can we take 30 seconds now?
Sorry, I've already been asked as chair to ask for 1 minute silence for Bello as well as all the former deans.
Okay, but more seconds would is always a good idea, bro. So can we take the 30 seconds now? So may the soul of the departed bless you. So I'm very happy, very excited here to be part of this process. I truly believe that we must recognize our scholars, our leaders, because they have committed their lives to bringing us to this stage of where we are. And I think that we should not be going by the idea of teachers' reward is in heaven. I think that we should acknowledge them, we should celebrate them when they are alive. And I'm happy that Professor Modibo is here at least to be part of this process. Because remembrances and others are not truly a very exciting time or place to recognize people who have dedicated and committed their lives to all the things that they have done over the years. We at the MacArthur Foundation, as many of you are aware, support for universities was certainly one of the major things that we have done, especially also support for development offices of the university. I believe that the current Vice Chancellor was one of the development officers that we worked with at one point. But it is encouraging to see that the International Studies Association is organizing this event. It's very encouraging because, as you know, all over the world, when you ask students, why do they identify with a particular institution? The number one reason is because they had a good experience at their university. That's why they continue to identify with the university. So, which also means that universities must take the responsibility to give a good experiences to their students. If they feel happy, if they feel they are being treated very well, I am sure that they will always identify with the universities. And I want to share two things that I recently happened, which I'm very proud of ABU Zaria. One was a student, I think she's from Imo State. I was driving from the office and it was raining and she was waving people and no one was stopping to give her a lift. So I gave her a lift. And so she told me that she was a student at ABU Zaria. So the first thing for me was, okay, you are from Imo State. Why did you go to ABU Zaria? She said, well, she felt that ABU will give her a better quality education. But what also really intrigued me was her own experience of being a student in this place. Because she went for undergraduate here, and then she went to Imo State University of Science and Technology for a graduate program. According to her, it was like day and night. The difference was like day and night, she said. She said that, for example, when she applied for a transcript, she didn't do any follow-up. She paid all the fees that were required of her. She just got her own transcript delivered to the university she applied for. She said that in Imo State University, she had to delegate 2 people to follow from one clerk to another clerk to another clerk, and even have to bribe somebody in order to get her own transcript. So, given this kind of testimony, then you can understand why, if she had the opportunity to do something to a university, obviously, she would choose to support ABU Zaria over Imo State, where she comes from, because of the good experience that she had as a student in ABU Zaria. And the second one is, of course, related to the first one in terms of the diversity of the university itself. I think that it was JAM that awarded this university recently a recognition for being one of the universities, or the only university, that was able to attract students from all over the country. A university is universal. It has to reflect what a university is, what the universe is. It is only when you bring people from different parts of the world, the country, that is when you know that you have a university. So when we talk about, like Professor Okello, when we talk about Yusuf Bangura, who spoke online yesterday, these were people who were contemporaries in ABU Zaria, and that was the quality and the character of ABU that we enjoyed. So on this note, let me thank the Alumni Association for organizing this event, for recognizing all the people who have toiled and make this university be what it is, but also to encourage the university to be the standard that we should look out for, both in terms of character and learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Please can we once again put our hands together for Dr. Kole Shekima. And distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, I hand over the proceedings of the symposium to the chairman.
Yes, I think I can stand. As I mentioned, sorry, Kole, to interrupt you. Speak. I was advised by the organizers of the immediately after the goodwill messages, take a 1 minute silence in memory of all the departed deans and directors, as well as Professor Okello Ochuli, whose burial will be tomorrow, who was a contemporary of all of those and who also made tremendous contributions in the faculty. So I crave your indulgence. Please, let's rise for 1 minute. Memory of all the departed. Is what on the program referred to as the symposium lecture. But what I understand is actually a lecture. And the person who is going to give us the lecture is Professor David Move.
National President of the International Studies Association, Ambassador. National President of the International Studies Association, Ambassador Arikita. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chairman, sir, it is with great pleasure that I accepted to serve as guest speaker of the occasion, even at very, very short notice, for a number of reasons. Guest of honor, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, I am one of your grandsons.
my PhD supervisor, Professor Raouf Dumoye of blessed memory, I remember a story he once told me about you. That when he was in Canada doing his PhD some time ago, at a point he got so frustrated and he called you and told you that I'm coming back to Nigeria. And all you asked him was that if he comes to Nigeria, what is he going to tell people that he went to do there? So he was forced to remain and finish his program. The chairman, sir, Professor the mentor. I remember when President Bello Jonathan appointed you as chairman of INEC. I was actually doing my PhD thesis, which was a comparative study of all the elections that have been conducted in Nigeria from 1999 to 2011. So my study actually coincided with the time when you were introducing a lot of reforms at INEC. Sir, you have been a role model, and I'm really inspired by, all the activities and processes that have been part of your life, sir. Secondly, sir, I also feel very honored to deliver this occasion because I was not a student in the old FAS, and I certainly was not a faculty member of the faculty. As a matter of fact, in the mid-1980s, I was just a primary school pupil here at ABU Staff School. Yeah, just outside this building. So I must have been very young to actually understand the complexity and the seriousness of issues and intellectual exchanges that took place in FAS. But I vividly remember the generally charged intellectual atmosphere, because many times when we close from school on my way home, I usually stop at the dean's office of the Faculty of Arts to see my dad, who at the point was the secretary to Professor A.D. Yahya, and it was really refreshing for me to see his son this morning. So I really, really consider it a privilege to actually address these gathering of not just distinguished mentors, but like I was telling some of my seniors, distinguished ancestors as far as the academic profession is concerned. So it is with great privilege. Now, when I was asked to come up with a topic, for this presentation, what came to my mind, the first issue that came to my mind was, what was the nature of the intellectual activism and academic excellence that FAS was known for? What factors account for the apparent decline in this intellectual activism and academic excellence? And what options do we have as progenies of the excellent intellectual tradition that was FAS, the firebrand that was FAS? What options do we have as far as the liberation of Nigeria in terms of its socio-economic and political development is concerned? Now, so these were the issues or the questions that actually led me to the topic, African academic excellence, implications for politics and development, which I believe captures the essence of this gathering. We are all aware of the firebrand that is FAS. For over 3 decades, FAS represented an ideal of the university system, as a site for critical academic excellence and as a driver of national progress. The faculty actually represented much more than an academic unit. It was a crucible of intellectual activism, social consciousness, and political engagement. And FAS nurtured a generation of thinkers, policymakers, and activists who helped shape political discourse and development paradigms in Africa. So today, after about 30 years, since the splitting of the faculty into two, the intellectual activism and excellence that was FAS, associated with FAS, appear to have declined. Yet the conditions and contradictions that nurtured the academic climate in FAS, they have become even stronger. They still remain. So to answer the questions I raised earlier, what I did was that I tried to revisit some of the most profound academic exchanges and debates that we had during the days of FAS. And I discovered that there are at least 3 that are really worth mentioning. The first is the decolonization of the history of Nigeria and West Africa in general, as pioneered by the critically acclaimed Zaria School of History. Secondly, is the Pan-Africanist movement initiated by Okello Choli's mock presentation of the Organization of African Unity. And thirdly, is the intellectually stimulating debates on the crisis of the Nigerian economy by Dr. Yusufu Bala Usman and Dr. Yusuf Bangura. So quickly, I'll just try to look at these key issues and then we'll look at the implications for contemporary development and politics in Africa. The Zaria School of History. Now, the Zaria School of History was nurtured within FAS at Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, in the early 1960s, and it stands as one of Africa's most influential intellectual traditions in historical scholarship. Pioneered by Professor Abdullah Smith and later championed by Dr. Yusufu Bala Usman, the school became a powerful academic force in methodological innovation and in shaping political thought across the continent. One of the central premises of the Zaria School of History was that it was not enough, for African countries to attain political independence without intellectual decolonization. So the central mission of the School of History was the decolonization of African historiography. And to be able to do this, the school came up with innovative methodological innovations that involved 3 major issues. The first issue was that the school treated oral sources as equally valuable as written sources, subjecting both to rigorous critical evaluation. Prior to the emergence of the Zaria School of History, African historiography was actually dominated by Europeans who actually projected the idea that Africa had no history. But from the works of late Bala PhD student, Dr. Mahmoud Tukuru, saw how oral sources, were established as a veritable and important, source as far as African history is concerned. And there are 2 major works actually published by Bala Usman. The first, titled The Critical Evaluation of Primary Sources, Henry Badge in Katsina State, 1851 to 1854. The problem of categories in the study of history and, the second is the problem of categories in the study of history of Central Sudan, a critique of M.G. Smith and others, still by Dr. Bala Usman. These works generally confronted colonial historiography head-on by advancing methodological pluralism through the validation of oral sources alongside written records. Mahmoud Tukuru's PhD, which was completed in 1979, is also a very important work that actually helped in the establishment of the Zaria School of History. His work, titled Imposition of British Colonial Domination on the Sokoto Caliphate, Borno and neighboring states, in interpretation of colonial sources. So generally, the school, played that major role in establishing African historiography by ensuring that rather than focus on only Eurocentric and colonial perspectives, that did not take into consideration African oral traditions. They were able to justify and expose the shortcomings and limitations of the methodological approaches of, the Eurocentric scholars. And then apart from establishing the Zaria School of History, apart from, this methodological innovation, the Zaria School of History was also notable and strong in the organization of provocative seminars. Virtually every week, there were seminars that discussed issues that were very central, not just to the Nigerian states, but issues that were of practical significance to the African continent. The school hosted so many provocative seminars on issues such as decolonization, the role of Western countries in perpetuating neocolonialism, corruption in governance, and so on and so forth. In March 1983, the Marx and African Conference was anchored by the ABU School of History, and so many scholars and Marxists from the length and breadth of this school, this country actually came together and made presentations in this conference. So, by dismantling colonial narratives and by ensuring that, intellectuals played their major responsibility of speaking truth to power, the Zaria School of History emerged as a very, very important and critical force, that could not be taken for granted as far as the discourse on issues of Nigerian and African development are concerned. Today, the legacy of this school endures in many African universities, research centers, and the continued insistence that African history should be told by Africans from an African perspective. Then secondly, sir, on the issue of the OAU mock summit presentation, this was another very important initiative, a pedagogical experiment, that played a significant role in fostering and encouraging Pan-African consciousness, not just among the students within campus, but also even across the country and internationally. In the late 1970s, Professor Okello, a foremost Pan-Africanist, pioneered mock summits of the Organization of African Unity as part of his undergraduate course on public administration. And rather than being mere dramatizations where students were expected, to mimic, the speeches of heads of states in continental conferences, the initiative actually represented an innovative training in leadership, policy making, and public speaking. A pedagogical experiment, that contributed significantly in promoting Pan-Africanist consciousness among the students and the university community in general. And by the 1980s, NTA Kaduna had actually started covering most of these mock OAU summits, and it had begun to annoy, the military establishment at that time. So there was some ideological skepticism, but Professor Okello remained steadfast, and he insisted that the summit actually prepared or nurtured Pan-Africanist values amongst the youths of not just Africa, not just Nigeria, but Africa in general. So again, we saw how even when Professor Okello left ABU, he continued this program, and I think by 2017, a delegation was able to go and make that mock presentation in Addis Ababa. So generally, as a result of the Pan-Africanist, as a result of the mock OAU summit, skills such as critical thinking among the students, was encouraged by the juxtaposition of ideology and pragmatism, issues of unity against sovereignty, culture, and modernity and so on and so forth. Students were exposed to the key is concerned. Then the third major issue, sir, is on the Usman Bangura debates on Nigerian economy. Building, that self-economy was critical towards the development of Nigeria. A couple of months later, about 3 months later, the paper titled Overcoming the Basic Conceptions of Nigerian Economic Crisis, we scrutinized the theoretical underpinnings of Nigeria's economic discourse. He actually shared most of Professor Bala Usman's position. However, he critiqued what he perceived as a rather insufficient understanding. This, I think, was even what resulted in the clash of words that ensued between them in the rejoinders that they did. But suffice it to say that the debate between these two distinguished scholars represented a watershed moment in Nigeria's intellectual history, and the discourse continues to offer vital insights into today's struggles for economic and ideological crisis in Nigeria. So these three issues, played a major role, in these three experiences or these three episodes that I've identified were significant events in the whole Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, that projected fast, not just within national environment, but even across the African continent. So generally, what are the implications of these academic traditions, what I would refer to as the FAST model to African development? Of course, the tradition of academic excellence, of FAST was never viewed as an end in itself, but as a means to an end. It was essentially a model that sought to advance political enlightenment and ethical governance, which are still very, very critical and important issues that we can benefit from today as a country and even as a continent. The faculty cultivated leaders who understood the complexities of African societies and were committed to inclusive participatory governance. African academic excellence, as exhibited in the old FAST, had far-reaching implications for development. First and foremost, it enhances the quality of research and evidence-based policy making, a critical need for economics placed by data gaps and donor-driven agendas. And then secondly, it also strengthens the local capacity to innovate in critical sectors of the society, such as agriculture, healthcare, education, and technology. Drawing from the FAST model, therefore, it simply means, or one can argue, that the development of Nigeria and the development of Africa in general should not be imported or imposed unwholesomely, but it must be nurtured domestically and contextually through rigorous localized research. Moreover, sir, FAST demonstrated the importance of interdisciplinary collaboration, bridging the gap between politics, economics, culture, and history in crafting development policy. Today, many African universities operate in silos, losing the integrative strengths that characterize FAST approach. Mr. Chairman, sir, by next year, 2026, it's going to be 30 years that FAST was divided into two. And while the impact of splitting the faculty actually may best be described as mixed. While it has encouraged specialization in the various disciplines that we have, it has also encouraged, what I will refer to as the tendencies of a silo mentality, where students and scholars alike exhibit deficiencies in multidisciplinary perspectives and approaches that the generation of FAST and students in the old, that the generation of scholars and students in the old FAST were renowned for. So we have to, in fact, my faculty, sir, I'm aware that there has been some grumblings recently. Some scholars have expressed some frustration, how we do not have that multidisciplinary approach. We do not, encourage our students to have a broad perspective in trying to understand social issues. It's very, very important. And I think this is one of the major differences that we have between the scholars of the old FAST and the scholars that we have today. In those days, 100 level and 200 level students may be required to take courses across the faculty, but now you have students in political science, economics, or history, or any other department that could spend 4 years, and they probably would not even take any elective outside their department. It's not helpful. This is not the tradition of the old FAST. During the old FAST, we had scholars that were grounded, not just in the social sciences or humanities, but even philosophies. And given the complexities of our social problem, we must make concrete efforts, at least at the junior classes, to see how we can adopt that multidisciplinary approach in addressing our issues. Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, it has been a long day. I wouldn't want to take so much of time. But to conclude, sir, I would like to state that while the legacy of FAST remains, its intellectual vigor has declined. And the reason for these are obvious. Systemic and institutional challenges which are not unconnected to the broader systemic failures of the Nigerian state. We should not mortgage or hands off the state now. I mean, we should not hands off the provision of education, particularly at the tertiary level. The decline in funding of education, the commodification of education, and the loss of academic autonomy has weakened the culture of research, and this poses serious threats to Nigeria's development. To reclaim the academic excellence FAST was known for, all stakeholders, and by all stakeholders, I mean the government, the development partners, alumni, and the university management, must continue to prioritize investment in research, faculty development, and the protection of academic freedom. Clearly, from what we have seen, from the FAST model, FAST has shown us that when scholars engage meaningfully with society, they can drive political and development. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so very much, Professor David Murphy, for this beautiful presentation. Short time that you had to prepare for it. And made a confession in primary or secondary school, while all these things spoken very well about it. But the interesting thing is that there are a few people in this room who are also active participants. Some of those, so maybe they can help us shed more light on these issues. But there is no doubt issues you have identified can be identified, can be set challenges. Clearly show the difference between all of us that has happened subsequently of the FAST and what you consider is the decline of intellectual vibrancy and the research and even academic leadership at the instances. But obviously I would say that we can identify now at the are actually the microcosms of the larger challenge university system. I think it was Cole who mentioned university is supposed to be a universal community of scholars. It's also supposed to be a very diverse community, all scholars, students. And in Nigerian context, at a particular point in history, beginning from the introduction of the structural adjustment program, so many things happened which made it difficult, if not impossible, to replicate the experiences of the past, where you have a universal community first. Us was truly at one point a universal community of scholars, people from all over the world. It was excellent training, but it was diverse orientation. And all this, the dynamics of these interrelationships impact on the knowledge that students get. But we got to a point where under structural adjustment program, universities can no longer attract or retain good quality lecturers. And of course, many of the lecturers who remained in the system were busy pursuing what late Abdul Mustafa called as multiple modes of learning. Identity politics that was quite prominent and impactful in national politics also penetrated our universities. And then what will come from, who should be a vice chancellor, who should not be a vice chancellor, and so on and so forth. So there are many intricate dimensions to these challenges. But I'm sure you will agree with me that Professor David has done an excellent job, so please give him a big round of applause. Thank you. We'll take time, a little bit of time. If there is anybody who wants to add value to what he said or ask question for further clarification, please feel free to indicate by raising your hand. I think we will be able to take two from each. But please make it very brief. If it is a comment, make it very brief. If it is a question, also make it just one question. So I will start with you if you are raising your hand. Take note.
The chairman of the occasion, members of the high table, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am an Abusite, a former student of the presenter and a student of the Department of Political Science here in this university. I am touched by the revelation. Past did not die. What happened was that I joined Bayero University, one of the people that in political science. Also, Professor was my mentor. I was one of the pioneer students of International Studies program. I'm not an ambassador, but I can say I have reached the rank of ambassador in my own calling. So I think the problem we are seeing is mainly to do with, if you look at the founding father of this institution, late Saldona of Sokoto. Now, these were leaders who had certain visions, and the visions culminated in the establishment of institutions like this one, ABU, and even produced students that reflected to a certain extent some of the values which they also, I think, have. Now, these things over time eroded, and that is why we are having a lot of leadership deficit.
during our time, as I can say, professors here that our mentors, they were also guided by similar values. And that is why the institution itself persevered. And if you look at the history of Sardauna himself and the reason why this institution was established, is to produce leaders in all the segments of knowledge, be it medicine, architecture, mental science, political science, art, and so on. This is why I like it. I mean, now, morally. And because there is one more second, I think you give me that as your students. What we have, all those leadership values that have been eroded over time. Look at Professor Ahmadu, so leadership and governance in Nigeria. Now, this was the beginning. Study it, why have we deviated from some of those values, which included, among others, value of integrity, of community. We categorized about 3 of them: process, leadership values, process values, and governance. Now, these are lacking, and that is why our educational system is continuing to do. And luckily enough, we have movers and shakers of this institution. I think we can appeal to them to please start the process of bringing back integration of faculty of art and faculty of social science.
Thank you so very much. Recognized as
Chairman, sir, my name is Zainab Lawal. I retired as the Deputy Controller General of Immigration. And I'm the first female Muslim to reach that rank in the history of Nigerian immigration. So I graduated 88, International Studies. So what the speaker said really pains me, because I read international relations, but I had a bit of sociology under Patrick Wilmot. I had a bit of history under Bala Usman, Angwat, Adi. You understand me? Then I had a list of economics from Mike Banashi and the likes. For now, was fast divided as social arts. They are not getting that's what makes you branded. They are not getting it. Leave it. See, thank you, you are here. I can kneel down for you. Please. Yes, no, it's true. It's true. You didn't get it. You get what I'm saying? Please, I will want a situation whereby even if the faculty is divided, let them be having a native course so that they will have economics, sociology, history, English. Please. Please. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much for that contribution. I will take 2 from.
He has forgotten to shed light on the crisis the faculty witnessed. At the beginning of first days of the faculty, there was a crisis, a epistemological, metaphysical, and moral crisis, which was alerted the community by Wazir Junaidu during his speech of 1971 convocation. And secondly, at the later years of the faculty also, there was another development. The authorities, not even from within the university, from the Nigerian government and even international donors who are not happy with the faculty. The funding and the donation and even scholarship for the faculty have drastically reduced because largely of the activities of people like late Bello, Usman, and the rest of them.
Thank you. Last but not least, yes, please.
Thank you very much, sir, for giving me this opportunity. First, I would like to commend your praiseworthy effort. We are very grateful, sir, for this. Yes, sir, I want to inform you that now we are working on how to revive the intellectual velocity of a previous fast. That we create a forum where we engage in intellectual discussion every week, where we discuss social issue, political issue, economic issue, and even international issue, which we target as FM, social survey discuss. Every week we create topic, the most trending topic, and we discuss. Last week, today, we had our ceremonial closing ceremonial. We close it until next session. So I would like to please beg you to motivate us to keep on carrying up the task so that we revive those spirit of intellectuality. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much.
Bluetooth is ready for pairing.
In events such as this, there are more people who want to comment or ask questions, but we have very little time. I think thank each and every contributor, and we will give Prof an opportunity to say a few more things.
That always actually observations, not direct questions. The issue that I would like to respond to was the issue raised by Madam on see how we could encourage is working. Multidisciplinary tradition. I think part of the problem, sir, is that we may need to look at our curriculum again. Recently, the NUC appears to have taken over, the process of determining our curriculum. This issue of CMAS, sir, that was introduced without significant input from the universities directly, will not necessarily be good for our students. Because I think it's very, very important. In my department, I'm sure of that, we have students that can spend 4 years and they've not taken any course outside political science. This is not the tradition of the UFAS. What really, really impressed me about all the scholars and students of the UFAS was that they were very vast. Very vast. Sometimes you wonder if Bello Usman was an economist, a philosopher, or a historian. Bangura, Professor Okelo, in fact, I never knew he was a political scientist. Recently, in the process of doing this work, I read, a lot about him and discovered that he was actually a staff of the, Department of Political Science under the late Ahmadu, and he read political science. This is someone that became, so prolific, in writing, and we really, really cannot, consider or have fully developed and grounded students without ensuring that they are exposed, to these multidisciplinary traditions, particularly at the lower level. For 100 level and 200 level at least, we must make concrete and vice to see how we can review the curriculum. I think it's very, very important because considering the nature of the social problems that we are confronted with today, you really cannot provide any comprehensive and significant solution to any social problem. Please think of any social problem. If you don't have this multidisciplinary approach, so it is very, very important as far as politics and development is concerned. Thank you, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of the segment of the lecture and the responses from the audience. You will agree with me, it's been a very stimulating lecture. we should close it with a big round of applause. Thank you so very much, and I think now we move on to the segment of the program where there will be presentation of legs, the past deans, and brief citations for each of them. And so, please go ahead.
Well, thank you very much, the chairman, sir. The first awardee is lead Professor S.I. Wambuji, 1975 to 1976. Late Professor Solomon Irene Wambuji, 1930 to 1998, was the first Nigerian Faculty of Art and Social Sciences FACS. A highly Nigerian artist, art educator, and printmaker. He is widely recognized as the first Nigerian professor of fine arts. He is known for making multifaceted contributions to fine arts. Professor Wambuji, MFE, ED, fine artist, educationist, born August 16, 1930 in Abiosi, Edo State, married Florence Egozi Amadasu in 1960 and had 2 sons, 6 daughters. Education, Edo College, Benin City, 1946 to 1950, Nigerian College of Technology, Zaria, 1955 to 1959, Grant Academy of Arts, Michigan, USA, 1961 to 1963, New York University, New York, USA, 1965 to 1968, appointed publications artist, Federal Ministry of Information, 1959 to 1963, design and art supervisor, Nigerian Television Authority, 1964 to 1965, research fellow, University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, 1968 to 1970, senior research fellow, Obafemi Awolowo University, 1970 to 1971, senior lecturer, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, 1971 to 1973, appointed professor of arts, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, 1973, professor of creative art, University of Benin, Benin City, 1978, member, International Association of Arts and national president, Nigerian chapter, member, International Society for Education Through Art, World Council and African representative, member, National Art Education Association, USA award, conferred with the International Ziegfeld Award, International Society for Education Through Art, USA 1998, publications, Living Cultures of Nigeria, Thomas Nelson, 1976, Art for Junior Secondary Schools, among other publications and artworks both nationally and internationally. The chairman, sir, distinguished guests, members of the high table, I present to you one of our first awardees for today, or rather, yes, and the award is going to be posthumous, but the family is represented by Mrs. Owuyi, so his daughter, the late of deceased. So the daughter of Professor S.I. Wambuji. At this juncture, I have the singular honor and privilege to invite our special guest of honor, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, for the presentation of the award. The chairman, sir, Memorial College of Statistical Terms and Formulae, Quarter Publishers, 1982, Memorial College Okini, 1954 to 1959, Government Secondary School Okini, 1959, King's College Lagos, 1960 to 1961, University of Ibadan, 1962 to 1965, London School of Economics and Political Science, England, 1967 to 1968, University of Missouri, Columbia, USA, 1971 to 1973, and he was appointed head of Department of Economics, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, 1975 to 1979, Chairman, Teka Community Bank, Chairman, Chief Executive, J Model Nigeria Limited, Head of Department, Economics, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, Dean, Faculty of Art and Social Sciences, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, Director, Center for Economics and Social Research, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, since 1984. And he was also appointed Special Advisor to the President on Economic Affairs, 1979 to 1983, Commissioner, National Planning Commission, 1993 to 1994, as well as a member of other organizations and professional bodies. The chairman, sir, distinguished members of the high table, I present you a second awardee for today, the person of Dr. G.S. Odama. And I have the honor and privilege to invite the chairman of the institution, Professor Atahiru Jiga, for the presentation of that award. The next awardee is late Dr. Y.M. Mayangwa, 1979 to 1981. He served as Dean 1979 to 1981. Any family representative? Well, unfortunately, the representative of the family of late Dr. Y.M. Mayangwa is unavoidably absent due to some family emergencies. Yes, but the dean will collect on his behalf.
So, who is to present?
May I invite the Emir of Zazzau, ably represented by the President Irajan Zazzau architect Haruna Abubakar Bamali, to please come forward for that presentation.
The handshake.
Thank you very much, sir. The next awardee is late Professor Mahdi Adamu, who served as the Dean of the former FAS from 1979 to 1981. Late Professor Mahdi Adamu was born on the 2nd of February 1939 in Ngaski town in the present day of Kebbi State. Professor Mahdi was among the first intakes of the elementary school Wara in 1946, had his bachelor degree in history at Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, and was the first person to earn a degree in the Sokoto Kebbi Zamfara region. He subsequently attained his master's degree from the Department of History in the same university and later crowned it up with a doctorate degree PhD at Birmingham University, United Kingdom. Professor Mahdi Adamu lectured at his alma mater, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, later became the second Vice Chancellor of Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto, succeeding Emeritus Professor Galadenchi, who were both conferred the Emeritus honor at the 32nd, 33rd, and 34th Joint Convocation, 40 years anniversary of academic excellence in Udus. He was the founding Vice Chancellor of International Islamic University, Uganda. After the expiration of his tenure as the Vice Chancellor of Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto, he also championed the training of manpower on Islamic economics, leading to PhDs in the field and out of the fields of Islamic accounting and management. The late historian also made history in 1986 as the first keynote speaker of the Bariwa Old Boys Association, a college that is said to have produced more heads of state than any other secondary school in the country, on the topic brief review of educational development in Nigeria with particular reference to northern states. His book, The Hausa Factor in West African History, has been a reliable research reference since its first publication in 1976 to the field of history, Hausa, and other related fields. Chairman, sir, distinguished guest members of the high table, I present to you Our next awardee, leads Professor Mahdi, and the family is represented. Please, the representative of the family will come forward. And the next, or rather, may I invite Dr. Kuli Shatima for the presentation of that award.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, look here. The handshake, please.
Thank you very much, sir. The next awardee is late Professor Dalhatu Muhammad. And late Professor Dalhatu Muhammad was a renowned linguist, prominent scholar, iconic upside, and first-generation professor of African languages. Late Professor Muhammad was born on October 1st, 1942 in Zaria, Kaduna State. He attended Advanced Teachers College and was among the first set of ABU Zaria graduates. He joined the prestigious university 2 years after it was founded in the 1960s. Dalhatu Muhammad graduated with a BA in languages in 1967. He then proceeded to the University of Ibadan for his master's between 1967 and 1968. He was in London University, the UK, for his PhD from 1974 and 1977. And then he was one of the very few PhD holders in the northern part of Nigeria. Muhammad started his teaching career as a graduate assistant at the University of Lagos, where he worked from 1971 to 1972. In 1972, Dalhatu Muhammad joined the services of Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, as a lecturer. He was promoted to senior lecturer in 1977 and associate professor or reader in 1980, and became a professor of Nigerian languages and culture at the Department of African Languages in 1983. He died on Thursday, 9th April 2020 at Angwenju, Zaria City at the age of 77. He left behind one wife, several children, and many grandchildren. His publications include the Modern Hausa Dictionary published by the University Press Ibadan 1977, among other literary works. Our distinguished guests, the chairman, sir, ladies and gentlemen, I present you our next awardee, and may I invite the Vice Chancellor of Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, Professor Adamu Ahmed, ably represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Advancement, Research and Innovation, Professor Sanusi Ali Rafindadi, for the presentation of that award. Family is ably represented by the first son. Son is tagged as the assistant parent. So the family is represented by the assistant parent.
Look here, sir. Look here, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Next is late Professor Edi Yahaya. Late Professor Ali Alami Yahaya, popularly known as Professor Edi Yahaya, was born in Kano State, a product of Government College Kepi, and he was among the second set 1963 to 1966 to study BA Public Administration in ABU Zaria, from where he joined the academic staff of the university. He was one of the most accomplished scholars that have excelled in the pursuit and sharing of knowledge. His entire career exemplified his commitment. He taught at the Political Science Department and later became the first indigenous head of ABU's Political Science Department in the mid-1970s, and Dean Faculty of Art and Social Sciences first. He served the late Governor of Kano State, Abubakar Rimi, as Special Advisor Political alongside Dr. Bala Muhammad. He also served as Director General of Administrative Staff of Administrative Staff College of Nigeria, Ascon Badagry, from where he proceeded to Kenya as Executive Secretary, African Association of Public Administration. He was in Kenya when he was appointed the political advisor to the Vice President from July 2003 to May 2007. The late University Don was also deeply involved in the training and retraining of public policies in the country in different positions and had numerous publications to his credit. May I invite the National President of the International Studies Alumni Association, Ambassador Muntari Abdikaita, to please come forward and make that presentation.
Yeah. The handshake, please. You're not looking there.
The chairman are distinguished guests of the high table. The next awardee is Professor Mike Kwanashi. Professor Michael Kwanashi is a Nigerian academician who currently serves as a professor of economics at Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. He had served as the Vice Chancellor of Veritas University from 2012 to 2018. He obtained his first class BSc degree in economics from the Ahmadu Bello University and subsequently got his graduate training in two of today's global front-rank universities, Northwestern University in the USA and McGill University in Canada. McGill University is among the two other Canadian universities that lead the pack in terms of thoroughness of training and global agenda-setting research. Kwanashi's university career started with an appointment in the Department of Economics as graduate assistant in ABU Zaria in the year 1975, after which he then progressed to the rank of Professor of Economics in the year 1992 in the same department, and he has continued to date. He was a member of the research team of the Nigerian Institute for Social and Economic Research, Ibadan. He was a member of the committee of the preparation of Nigerian Vision 2020, First Implementation Plan 2010 to 2013, as well as other national committees. He has two honors to his name. The first was the Afrad Fellow, African American Institute, 1975 and 1976. And the second is Fellow of the Nigerian Economic Society, FNSE, the erudite professor, has many publications and research work to his credit. The chairman, sir, distinguished guest members of the high table, I present to you also Professor Mike Kwanashi as one of our awardees for today. And then may I invite the Dean, Faculty of Arts, Professor Mohammed Sule, to please come forward and make that presentation.
Yeah, look here.
The family is represented by his son.
You can come close.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next awardee is late Dr. Mahmoud Tukur. Late Dr. Mahmoud Modibo Tukur, 1944 to 1988. 1988 was a Nigerian historian, scholar, and the fourth national president of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. Tukur was the head of the Department of History and Dean Faculty of Art and Social Sciences at Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, when he died on 15th November 1988 along Zaria-Kaduna Highway. During his time at the Ahmadu Bello University, he met and studied under some influential historians like late Professor Abdullahi Smith and late Dr. Yusuf Bala Usman, who jointly supervised his doctoral dissertation on the imposition of British colonial domination on the Sokoto Caliphate, Borno and neighboring states, 1897 to 1914, a reinterpretation of colonial sources. Originally, Tukur's topic was on the role of emirs in the 20th century northern Nigeria, but during his research, he decided to change the topic. A major influence in his decision was the prevalent misrepresentation of the nature of the societies and polities of northern Nigeria before British colonization, and the consequent justification and rationalization of British colonial conquest as contained in studies by other notable historians, namely Maggie Behem, Robert Husler, S.J. Hogben, A.H.M. Greene, H.S. Hodgson, and others. Late Tukur continued his study. A panel of examiners upgraded his thesis from an MA to a PhD after being impressed with his work. Dr. Yusuf Bala Usman stated that the study was the best PhD thesis written by anyone as a trade unionist. As a trade unionist, Mahmoud Tukur participated and led a number of protests. This led him to start getting more in university politics, later becoming vice president and later president of ASU. Under his leadership, ASU established close ties to the other major trade unions in the country, like the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, the Nigerian Association of Nigeria, and the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS. The chairman, sir, distinguished guest members of the high table, I present to you also our next awardee, late Dr. Mahmoud Tukur. The family is ably represented by one of the daughters, senior daughter of the family. Please come forward for the presentation. May I invite the head of Department of Political Science and International Studies, Dr. Emel Tafida, to please come forward and make that presentation. The next awardee, ladies and gentlemen, is Professor Uka Ezenwe, an economist. Uka Uchuku Ezenwe, also known as the People's Professor, eventful 30-year sojourn as a teacher at Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. Started in October 1973 from the post of Lecturer 2, then promoted to Lecturer 1 in 1976, Senior Lecturer in 1978, Reader, that is Associate Professor in 1981, and Professor in 1984, thus becoming the first Nigerian Professor of Economics at Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. He excelled as Dean of the Faculty in 1992 to 1994. After his retirement from ABU, he enjoyed a rewarding stint at the Securities and Exchange Commission, Abuja, from May 2nd, 2002 to May 2007. He made a return to the university system at the University of Abuja in 2008. He served as the president of the Nigerian Economic Society. He has served as a consultant to various national and international organizations, including United Nations Development Program, UNDP, the World Bank African Development Bank, ADB, ECOWAS, UN Economic Commission for Africa, and the federal government of Nigeria. He has traveled extensively in Africa, Europe, Asia, and Central North America, and is currently Emeritus Professor of Economics at the University of Abuja and a fellow Nigerian Economic Society. He is happily married to Lady Regina Aku Ezenwe, and the union is blessed with 4 children and 9 grandchildren. The Chairman, sir, distinguished guest members of the high table, I present to you our next awardee, and may I invite once again our special guest of honor, in the person of Professor Ibrahim Gambari, for this grand presentation. Thank you.
You can have the handshake. Yes. Now look at.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, last but not the least on the awardees is Professor A.M. Modibo. And Professor Ahmed Modibo, born on the 5th of May 1954 in Yola, Adamawa State. Professor Modibo obtained his PhD in history in 1985 from Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, where he began his career as a lecturer in 1977. He was a former dean of the Faculty of Art and Social Sciences of the Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. Before the faculty was divided into 2, he was a member of the Implementation Task Force on the Rehabilitation of University Facilities. He rose to the position of a senior lecturer in ABU before he was appointed as the Director, Chief Executive of the National Teachers Institute, NTI Kaduna, from 2000 to 2007. Subsequently, he was appointed the Executive Secretary of UBEC between 2007 and 2012 by late President Umar Musa Yar'Adua. He has served the country in several capacities, including the Ministerial Committee on the Review and Drafting of the White Paper on Visitation Panel Report to Federal Universities in Nigeria between October and December 2009. He was also a board member of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAM, and member of the National Committee on West African Examinations Council, WAEC. Modibo was elevated to the rank of Professor of History by the Nasarawa State University, KEFI, and author of 7 books on history and education. Modibo has more than 116 seminar and conference and journal papers to his credit before being moved to the professorial cadre. Distinguished guests, the chairman, sir, members of the high table, I present to you the next awardee, and to make this presentation, may I invite once again the chairman of today's occasion, Professor Atahiru Jiga. Please come forward and make that presentation.
Look here, sir. We didn't get the handshake, sir.
And the next item on the agenda is response. The next item on the agenda is the representative of the past deans. And ladies and gentlemen, I have the singular honor and privilege to invite Professor Uka Ezenwe to give some few remarks on behalf of the past dean.
chairman of the occasion, our own indefatigable former chairman, Professor Ahmadu, special advisor, special guest of honor, my good friend, the creator of international studies in Ahmadu Bello University, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, distinguished members of the high table, please, I beg to stand on the existing protocol well established. You see when I was looking at my thing, I was looking at it. The thing is joy. I am dazed with joy, happiness. I least expected the kind of thing we're seeing today from the Alumni Association of Ahmadu Bello University. So, and I think I'm speaking the mind of my fellow honorees. So, if I'm shaking, please pardon me, it's happiness. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chairman, may I, on behalf of the honorees, heartily congratulate and appreciate the initiators and organizers of this unique symposium to honor past deans of the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences. For us, it is really a homecoming of some sort. Some of us left Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences more than 20 years ago. I left 23 years ago in 2002. It is therefore a great honor for us to be remembered and celebrated the way you have planned this event. Ipso facto, we cannot but thank Ahmadu Bello University Alumni Association worldwide, chaired by Alhaji Adamu Kantogora, and MacArthur Foundation Africa, headed by Dr. Kola Chima. We can't thank you enough for this labor of love and soul-lifting gesture. It is always a thing of joy to feel remembered and honored without solicitation. Although most religions emphasize respect for teachers and elders, it cannot be taken for granted. It takes people with good character, strong community values to adhere to such religious teachings. ABU has maintained steady enviable growth since its establishment in 1962. And those of us who are privileged to serve this great institution in these formative years are very proud to be associated with this institution. It has overcome most of its peers. According to the Times Higher Education Worldwide University Rankings 2025, ABU occupies the second position among the 270 universities in Nigeria. Surely this is not a mean feat. It gladdens our eyes to watch this uninterrupted soaring, which suggests incremental effort on the part of successive management and staff of this great university. On this score, we pay tribute to the current management of the university, the Vice Chancellor, Professor Adamu Ahmed, and his team, the staff, and the students for this unrelenting drive for excellence. It appears that ABU is practicing the words of the great Greek scientist Archimedes, who said, "Damihu lokum standi, et deramu vido," which translated says, "Give me a place to stand and I will move the world." We pray and hope that the federal government will continue to provide the necessary enabling environment and resources for Ahmadu Bello University to continue to serve. Now I conclude this brief response, ladies and gentlemen, by thanking the organizers of this symposium once again for the honor done to us, and we pray the Almighty God to direct and prosper all aimed at raising the standard of Ahmadu Bello University to be among the greatest university in the whole world. I thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, sir. Please can we once again put our hands together for Professor Uka Ezemi. Thank you very much, sir. The chairman, sir, with your permission, we move to the next item on the agenda. And the next item is remarks by the chief host of today's event, the Vice Chancellor of the largest university in Sub-Saharan Africa, Professor Adamu Ahmed, who is here ably represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor Advancement, Research and Innovation, Professor Sanusi Ali Rafindadi. Please, let's put our hands together for the Vice Chancellor. Ali comes for his remarks.
Thank you, Waziri. Mr. Chairman, sir, the distinguished special guest, Professor Gambari, let me start by maybe mentioning how important this symposium, and in fact the is to Ahmadu Bello University. You see, gathered here today are people that I'm privileged as a student and as a staff to know, to hear about, and to study. And I dare say the people who placed Ahmadu Bello University on the map. So the Alumni Association of International Studies, I would thank you first very much for thinking of this and for doing it. Thank you very much. They were teaching with passion. They were teaching with integrity. And they were teaching with the love of their students, with one objective in mind: transforming these young people, leaders of tomorrow. That's all they had in their mind. And as you know, when Professor Gambari was introducing this course, he had the vision that the nation would need a crop of diplomats that were not around at that point in time. So he provided for the nation, and it turned out that in the end, as you can see from the record, the very best diplomats that we had as a nation come from this department, this initiative. So what is not there to thank Professor Gambari for doing that? The lecturer reminded us of the intellectual culture that prevailed in the 70s and 80s that give us our reputation as a university in the intellectual sphere globally. And he said, part of what he said was that these people were fearless in their intellectual engagement. Fearless in their intellectual engagement. So they see things as they are. They interrogate and they share and they utilize fully their intellectual freedom. And that is why they were heard. What do we have today? We have people who feel differently about what is going on and who have intellectual foundation and reason to argue for a contrary direction, but for fear of whatsoever, we don't hear from them. So thank you very much for this. And to the awardees, let me say something from the point of view of the students to illustrate the nature of people they are. Let me start with Jega. You all remember, as an embodiment of integrity and fearlessness, there was a verb, there was a term that started, I will Jega you. Who remembers that? What that means is what? Composure, integrity, and fearlessness. When they see the truth, they say it. Doesn't matter how costly it would be. And as a student, I will tell you something on the link between peace and security, development and democracy. And guess who gave hand to take us for takeoff? It was the MacArthur Foundation under your leadership. Thank you. Now, the former deans of faculty, head of departments, I think of the former ones that are here, there are at least about 3 or 4 are presently here. Many, but you won't believe it that I came to Ahmadu Bello University 1 month short of 47 years ago. But I had six deans. So very high rate of turnover. Professor Odama was the first of my dean. And only today I learned a few things about him. First, I'm 80, but I learned that he's about 6 years older than me. So, thanks for life and your longevity. And I also learned today, I suspected that we have 3 institutions in common. We both went to King's College, we both went to London School of Economics, and we both went to Columbia University. So really it's like I was only running after you, a few years behind. And then of course science. It's really, I feel so good that it is the International Studies, the Alumni Association that will recognize these wonderful deans of the famous of arts and social science. Many people have said good things about the past, but our enemies, and you're bound to have enemies when you are a trailblazer and everything. You know, our acronym is FAST, Faculty of Arts and Social Science, FASS, but our enemies call us FARC, F-A-R-C. Because when you are at the vanguard of ideas and shaking establishment, you are bound to have enemies. But I also recognize here, Modibo is here, and police professor and head of department a few years behind me. I also would like to thank the president of the International Studies Alumni Association, Ahmadu Mutari, and he reminded me that I was boss 3 times. I was boss as his head of the department, I was boss as the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and I was boss as the Ambassador of Nigeria to the United Nations. So he was glad to leave me after that 3rd experience. But then I also want to recognize the members of the BOT, the executive members of the association, alumni. And also, this was surprising, I want to recognize Colonel Mohammed Edoli, the treasurer of the association. And I hope
Affairs at the age of 39. My first meeting of foreign ministers of the then OU we had in February 1984. So at an informal gathering of the ministers of the African countries, gentlemen, I want to alert you before it becomes public knowledge, a secret. I owe you colleagues. Botswana is going to establish a navy. I said, Botswana, a navy. It has landlord country. He said, well, if South Africa, if Zambia, without justice, if Zambia can have minister of finance and they have no money, then Botswana can have a navy without water. So I hope you have some money in the treasury. The faculty and students of ABU here gathered, in our apologies for starting this late. It wasn't really in our character, as you guys said, but due to circumstance beyond our control. I also would like to recognize the Executive Secretary of Savannah Center, which after all my years abroad came to establish. Believe it or not, thanks also to Police Team again, we now have a staff of about 20 people working in that center. The Executive Director is Pastor Sani Bala Wambai Kasina. And in this gathering, I have my son, my nephew, who is my son, who's already a professor at BUK. Where is he? Gambari. Wants to make sure that I'm well treated, his father is well treated at this gathering. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, really it's a great honor and a distinct privilege to stand before you today as a special guest of honor at this momentous and unique and first occasion, celebrating the remarkable legacy of the past deans of the Faculty of Arts and Social Science here at Ahmadu University. I extend my deepest gratitude to the organizers, the International Studies Alumni Association, ABU Zaria, for inviting me to be part of this significant event. It's truly inspiring to see the association take time and energy to acknowledge and appreciate the dedication and vision of those who paved their way. I must also just say a word about the guest speaker. Two things he mentioned that I feel I need to at least try to make a response from my vantage point. First, he said there's a continuing relevance of the contestation of ideas symbolized by the scholars, the lecturers, and the deans in the old fast. So the contestation is irrelevant because no society moves without ideas. No society moves without the contestation of ideas so that you come to some consensus of how to move the nation forward. And Uka, you had said about, was it Archimedes? Give me a place to stand and I will move the world. The problem is, there's no such place to stand. And if there was, nobody will give it to you. And precisely the point is about power. Power never concedes except by demand. You can't get power, nobody will go to give you power. You have to go and take it, you have to organize. So you, in whatever form, whether you bring fast into 2 or 3, you must have a forum where you discuss the essence of power, how to get it, how to retain it, how you lose it, and how to use power, not as an end by itself, but as a means to a greater end. It's very, very important. So that has to be something that continues in one form or the other. And I think it is Suleiman Hallelujah that you mentioned mentoring. It's very important. That's one of the things that have declined, not just in FAS, in the country. Mentoring, and it's a very important part of national development. Mentoring. I speak to you today, 80-year-old, but I was mentored myself, and therefore saw a responsibility to mentor others. And our country lost something when that commitment to mentoring was missing. How was I mentored? Here was I, provincial secondary school Ilorin, for my WASC. But I was a product of a vision of Ahmadu Bello and Bello and others, who decided they are going to identify some bright, promising young people and send them to Lagos, King's College. Before then, King's College was the only federal government secondary school for boys in the country. They said, no, send Northern boys there. Professor J.D. Odama, I went there, because to tell you the truth, before that time, many Southerners still thought that we Northerners are just fools, we know nothing. He sent us there. He said, go and compete with them. And it's on record that some of the best results at King's College came as a result of some of us who were picked to go there. Yes. Thank you very much. So they are the mission. Beyond that, the Sardauna and others took secondary school students, sent them to England. People like Babagana Kingibe were sent to Sussex, So that mentoring, and it's not just sending us to these places to compete, so that they know more about us and know more about themselves, and themselves expand their horizon, but that they also must have responsibility to mentor others. So that mentoring mechanism and process is missing, and it's not just limited to FAS, the university, but the country as well. And we must return to it if we are to make progress. Because let me tell you my experience in Singapore. We moved from a third world country to a first world country in the lifetime of the founding father. And guess what? Mentoring was the key. They identified people, from their youth, and they send them for training, for mentoring, so that they know in the next 40 years who the quality of people that they will have in their civil service. I met their Public Service Commission chairman, and I asked him, what do you do, Mr. Chairman, Public Service Commission of Singapore? And he said, I was expecting to say, the challenge of recruitment, promotion, discipline. He said, we passed that. Then what do you do? He said, as a public service, we concentrate on identifying talents from secondary school, mentor them, send them to the best places. And we now think, what would Singapore be like in the next 40 years? So we want to train those who are going to be leading the country in the next 40 years and put meritocracy at the center. Yes. As you yourself know, we have no to be our permanent secretary in the next 4 years, let alone. No, really. So, and what we were kind of posturing is the link between domestic politics and foreign affairs. Very important. That's an idea we threw. Okay? Because when you separate them, some people even think that you don't need foreign policy. Administration in this country. Whereas foreign policy is not documentary at all. It is the external projection of your national interests, but defined at home. So if you cannot exist in isolation of the rest of the world, then you must have foreign policy. People will know where you stand on issues. What are the interests you are trying to project? And what we are then saying is that if you have good politics at home, you have good politics abroad. Incidentally, I was a much younger person when And Professor Odama will probably remember this. He was special advisor to the president, assigned to the vice president. When I was appointed as the director of the Institute of International Affairs, the president was, as always, he was a visitor, not a visitor. The way is the president visitor to university, the word escaped me now, is patron, of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs. And therefore, every year he comes before the International Affairs and Institute and say what the foreign policy of the country is going to be for the following year. And here was I, just straight from you, October 7th, 1983. So the annual dinner is December. Note that date, December 1983. So, and I was the host, and I got up, and in the typical fast tradition, I said, Mr. President, you don't have a foreign policy because you don't have a decent domestic policy. And some of the president's advisors said, you see, we made a mistake of appointing this Gambari. Look at him to your face. Say, frankly, he said, you see, we made a mistake. We should have kept the ABU. The Bello was one very audibly party women and co. But that is, again, something that one should be proud of in terms of the background. The second, which is very important, is the concept of concentric circles of foreign policy. And that it was the foreign policy of the Buhari administration. And I had again the unique privilege of being, I was not a member of the Supreme Military Council of that time, not being a soldier, but I was a member of the subcommittee of the Supreme Military Council on Security and Defense, and I was the only non-military, non-security person. And they invited me to come and deliver a paper to present a memo to the Supreme Military Council on what the foreign policy of the administration would be. Well, the only background that I had was ABU and FAST, and I said, yes. And I presented that paper that, this idea of Africa as the centerpiece of foreign policy is not so. The center of Nigerian foreign policy is Nigeria. That's the center. Our interests, our security, our welfare, the security of our people, and our status. Okay? So that's it. And then in a concentric circle, relating with our neighboring country, then ECOWAS, then Africa, then the rest of the world. And guess what? That's the only foreign policy, go and check, that has been approved by the constituted authority of the states. And in one form or the other, it has been practiced. And if you deviate from it, if you neglect your neighbors, you're undermining your security, your prosperity, your welfare, and your status. Again, all of that thanks to the experience and background of Ahmadu Bello University. So, Mr. Guest Speaker, Professor, grandson, please reflect some of the contributions of the international relations to this contestation of ideas that moved our country forward. I have a written speech here, but I'm not going to read it because I'm just delighted to be here, delighted to be celebrated among deans that I never was, vice chancellors that I never was, but a recognition. And by doing that, by doing that, it's not just to us, myself as special guest of honor, not just to this, but you are in effect creating a vision of how institutions should be run. People's honor should be given to those who honor is done. Because if you remember, when we go to funerals, all the things that are said at funerals, the man is going, can't hear your woman. The purpose of those funeral orations, the function of the tribute, is not to the dead, it is to the living. So sometimes I wish people will hear their funeral oration while they are still alive. Because then they will see how the society values them and their contribution to the family, to the community, and the society at large. So really, I'm at home here. I don't need to read a prepared statement. I just want to say how grateful I am that Ahmadu Bello University, particularly the Alumni Association, has decided to give this old man a recognition, and in the context also honor my colleagues, some of whom have gone. Their children and relations are here, and some are also they are remembered. Now, before I conclude, again, Chairman of the occasion, you did mention that why is one of the reasons why, if you look at the global index of leading universities in the world, you find that very few Nigerian universities make it to. One of the major reasons is that one of the reasons when they rank them, they look at how many foreign students are studying in your university, how many lecturers, foreign lecturers are in your faculties, and on that index we score next almost close to 0. Yeah. So we may be number 2 in Nigeria, but not very high abroad, and it's correctable. And Professor Gai, you are right that unless ASU fought, unless others fight to enhance the resources of the state that goes to support institutions, unless they pay workers and the faculty so that they can devote their time to thinking and to vision rather than to how to make a living from day to month, well, it will never happen. We will continue to be first at home, but lower there, and not just to please anybody, but for ourselves to know, just as the Sadanas of the past saw in some of us, that we could be trained at home and go there and compete with the best of the best. You know, that exposure, that confidence will not come and will not translate into ranking us. I was only half joking when I said I wish Professor Yega was president of ASU when I was chief of staff of the president, because when I was staff of the president, if you notice to Buhari, I was not in charge of negotiating with the ASU. Another minister was. But at one point, Buhari, may he rest in peace, said, look, we've been asking the Minister of Labor, I think we better get Gambari to go and do this. First is one of them. And his spirit. Two, he understands their problem. Yeah. And my PA is here. I have several meetings with, I have a convening power to call any minister, you know, as chief of staff. Call all of them, say, we must find a solution to this. And we were close. But there was a certain president of ASU at that time, whose name I will not mention. I walked away from the negotiation, which was his pity, because they could have taken what we have, suspended the strike, and come back for more. You know, like was it Oliver Twist? Keep asking for more, but hold what you have, because by prolonging the strike, ASU lost the sympathy of the Nigerian population, and yet their cause was marvelous. But again, that's what diplomacy teaches you. You negotiate, you get what you can, you come back for more. But you don't walk away, because a poor deal is better than, is worse than no deal at all. Or let's say a poor deal is better than no deal at all. And you don't, the best should never be the enemy of the good. Let me stop here, Because when you give the microphone to a former professor of international affairs and a diplomat, they know when to start. It's difficult to know when to stop. And I'll remind you in closing of my own experience in the Security Council. There were two gladiators, the Foreign Minister of India and the Foreign Minister of Pakistan. And guess the subject, Kashmir. Those of you who follow that, this is very sensitive to both. And Menon, who was the Foreign Minister of India, spoke for 6 hours. And then he collapsed. So people then said, is there any doctor in the house? Come. So one person said, no, they don't need doctor. Bring the microphone, put it near his nose. And they brought it near his nose. He got up and continued where he stopped. So let me stop here and thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir. Please, can we once again put our hands together for Professor Gambari? You know, at a point, I got carried away by what Professor Gambari was saying. Given the fact that each time you find yourself in the midst of experienced fellows like this, whenever they share experiences, you will learn a lot of things and benefit from their wealth of experiences. Once again, thank you very much, sir. And distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the next item before we go is another presentation of award. And our first recipient of the next category is no other person but our guest, or rather a special guest of honor, in the person of Professor. This time around, I will not see any former. Just, a special guest of honor for today. No former this time around. Our special guest of honor, Professor Ibrahim Gambari. And to present that award, may I invite the chairman of today's occasion, Professor Atayuri Jiga.
Can you come on a little bit? Look here, sir. Thank you very much.
And let me plead with the both of you, sir, to please not go. May I also, the next recipient is Professor Atayuri Jiga, and to be presented by Professor Gambari. Yes, sir. Exactly. Well, I've been asked to tell you that reciprocity is the basis of international relations.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much, sirs. Thank you. And the next recipient is the Vice Chancellor of Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, Professor Adamu Ahmed, who is here ably represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Advancement Research and Innovation, Professor Sanusi Ali Rafendadi. And may I invite the President of the International Studies Alumni Association, Ambassador Munti Abdul Keita, make that presentation.
The handshake.
The next recipient is the Vice Chancellor, sir. Please, may I plead with you not to go, sir. The next recipient is the guest speaker, Professor David Movie, and to make that presentation.
Yes. Then the handshake. Look here, sir. You're not looking here. Thank you.
You know, it's not easy making presentation in the midst of your grandparents. And Professor Mubi has just succeeded in doing that. Once again, congratulations, sir. And our next recipient is Dr. Kole Shetima. Okay. The next is the Dean of Arts, Faculty of Arts, Professor Mohammed Sule. And to make that presentation, may I invite the Emir of Zazzau, Ambassador Ahmadu Bamali, who is here ably represented by the Bardank Irarian Zazzau architects Haruna Abubakar Bamali. Your Royal Father, please, before you go, the next recipient is also the Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences, Professor Shamsuddin Mohammed, who is unavoidably absent, but the head of Department of Political Science and International Studies, Dr. Emel Tafida, will collect that award on his behalf. The HOD, sir, please come forward. Thank you very much, the Royal Father. Sorry, sir, before you go, the next category is the Royal Father. The Emir, sir, sorry to disturb you a little, sir. We're all your children as the Royal Father of the day, sir. So once again, may I invite a special guest of honor, Professor Ibrahim Gambari. Once again, sorry to bother you more, sir, much, sir, to present this award to the Royal Father of the day, the Emir of Zazzau, Ambassador Malam Ahmadu Bamali, who is here ably represented by the Bardank Irarian Zazzau, the district head of Basawa. The special guest of honor, once again, please, before you go, last but not the least on the category, is the HOD, Department of Political Science and International Studies, Dr. Emel Tafida. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. The HOD, before you sit, quickly, for some remarks in 1 or 2 minutes before we take the vote of thanks from the Dean.
The representative of Vice Chancellor, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, the chairman of this occasion, our special guests of honor, the honorees and their representatives, my senior colleagues, my colleagues, students, and other invited guests. I would like to express my appreciation to the International Studies Alumni Association for organizing this symposium, because it's not only the main idea behind this for people to meet and cross-fertilize ideas. And today I've learned a lot of things that happened before I was a student in ABU today. And it also tickles my memories. I can remember there was a time I was given an assignment. Was it the late Professor Dumoye gave us an assignment, then Dr. Dumoye, on ECOWAS integration. And I was trying to look for materials. My first port of call was the Dean's office. Bloody undergraduate, I just entered the Dean's office and I saw Professor Ezewe. And I greeted him and I said, we're given an assignment on ECOWAS integration, and I learned that
you have written a book on ECOWAS integration. He didn't even utter a single word. He just opened his drawer, brought out the book, and gave it to me. So I will never forget those kind of memories. In fact, when I saw him this morning, there was this nostalgia within me. When I just saw him, I said, man, I will never forget this man. Because he really he really triggered my zest for intellectualism. And just like how the representative of the VC said, because we schooled almost at the same time, he was one of those who inspired us to come back to academics. There's nothing in academics materially, but they are the people that inspired us to come back. And with respect to the invited guests, the special guests of honor, this is my first time of seeing him physically, but I've read his books. In fact, I used to go to the Institute of International Affairs in those days in Victoria Island. When we were living in Lagos, I used to go and read his works. I've even read other works written by other people categorizing his own works. Like there's a work by, I think edited by R.D. Akindele, Nigerian Foreign Policy. It's written in 1992, where he was categorizing Bolaji Akinyemi and others, and so on and so forth. So when he came to Gabori, he said he's a realist. And I tend to agree that he's a realist based on the comments he made here. And then we were students. I can remember the struggle by ASU. Then Professor Ataru Jega was the national president. We were students then. We were supposed to spend 4 years. How many years did we spend? 7 or 8? 8 years in their struggle. So the International Studies Association has really provided this forum, and I hope we're going to see things greater than this Maiden Symposium. In order not to waste your time, I think I should drop the microphone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the HOD sir, and quickly distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. For the vote of thanks, may I invite the Dean, Faculty of Arts, Professor Sule Mohammed.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. The chairman of this occasion, Professor Ataru Jega, some of us remember him more as ASU president, because the way he led the struggle during his time and got, substantial benefits from the then military administration, which changed the lives of ASU members. Because as somebody said, ASU was in poverty. The special guest, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, one time, well, let me drop that because he doesn't like the the name former. So the initiator of the International Studies program in the Ahmadu Bello University, His Highness the Emir of Zazo represented the Vice Chancellor Ahmadu Bello University, Mr. Adamu Ahmed, represented also, and the guest speaker, Professor David Moby, the president of the International Alumni Association, the director MacArthur Foundation Africa Office. I also like to recognize some of my colleagues present here, Deans. I'm sure they are here, for solidarity with us. So I appreciate their presence. And other distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I would like to commend Studies Alumni Association in collaboration with the MacArthur Foundation. I would say that this is a welcome development, and it's highly commendable. And when they visited my office, as Dean of Faculty of Arts, the ESCO visited me and hinted me about this event. I was very delighted because it was in line with our own plan. We in the Faculty of Arts were trying to revive, the Faculty Alumni Association to get them, to come to our aid, especially in this time that government funding has been dwindling, and our faculty of Arts, is the worst hit because we are one of the pioneer faculties of the university. The university was established in 1962, and Faculty of Arts is one of the pioneering faculties. 4 of them were established that time. They started the university, Faculty of Administration, Faculty of Arts, Faculty of Agric, and Faculty of Science. These were the pioneer faculties. We in the Faculty of Arts had the facilities of the Nigerian College. Nigerian College was established sometime in 1953. So we inherited their facilities, and if you go to the faculty now, you see how dilapidated they are. So we need assistance, and believe that the Alumni Association, is in a good position to assist. So I was very delighted. We have been trying to revive past activities. By the way, the faculty did not start at first. It became fast in 1966 when programs in social sciences were created. So it became Faculty of Arts. It started as Faculty of Arts and then became Faculty of Arts and Social Science in 1966. And since then, there have been a lot of activities. The faculty has produced scholars of global standing, and contributed to national and international development. The faculty was so vibrant that was so vibrant that even government at that time was coming to shop for people to employ. And that was how Professor Gambari, was taken away from the faculty and appointed to several positions. Dr. Bello Usman was a member of the Constitution Drafting Committee, and Dr. I've forgotten the name of sociology, was made minister. No, not Odekule. Ibrahim Taib, yes, Dr. Ibrahim Taib. So this is, how past has fared. But in 1996, it was split. And Faculty of Arts became, once again, Faculty of Arts, and Social Science became Faculty of Social Sciences. Some people have talked about, the negative aspect of the split, especially in terms of this interdisciplinary studies. But I'm happy to tell you that we are trying to revive these interdisciplinary studies. For example, we want to bring back history, political science, combined honors. So maybe I think that will help us along with. So I wish to thank everybody for coming, and I wish them a safe journey back to their destinations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dean, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, the chairman, sir, the special guest of honor, the vice chancellor, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we have finally come to the end of this event. But before we go, we will see a prayers. After seeing the prayers, then we will proceed for the unveiling of the monument at the old FAST building, within the main campus. And then after that, we go for lunch and then we depart. But before we do that, please, closing prayers, we'll take the invited guests, we'll take a good photograph outside, and after that, we proceed to the unveiling of the monument at the old Faculty of Art and Social Sciences building. So once again, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Please, may we take 30 seconds to pray according to individual faith. Amen. Thank you very much, and I wish us all safe journey back to our various destinations. Thank you.